Get ready to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good morning, everybody out there in the world, or whatever it is that you are watching this, listening to this, however you are taking this in. This is Judge Mentalist coming at you without my stage partner, Bernardo, because this is another Performing Hypnosis Summit preview episode where we are talking to one of the fine presenters, a returning presenter from previous year's Performing Hypnosis Summits, as well as and I'll get the title wrong here, but the creator, the coordinator, the you name it, random responsibility that needs to be taken care of at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference. Good morning, Dan. I give everybody Dan Goyette. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a good day here in Michigan. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's just a good fall day. So thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And I enjoyed your talk last year at PHS, and I have seen, and we'll talk about this obviously here, you were going in an entirely different direction from what you talked about last year in this year's talk. But let's talk about a little bit, and I like to do this as briefly or as long as you feel like we need to do, to give anybody who might be new to this world, anybody who might be just getting into hypnosis or just getting into performing hypnosis, although you've bridged the entire spectrum of hypnosis, a little bit of background about you, Dan, and how you got to this point that you're going to be up here talking to us and giving us some knowledge.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, I started working in hypnosis in 2012. Clinical hypnotherapy, became a certified medical clinical hypnotherapist. And then I had some friends kind of talk me into it, like, hey, we got to do a stage show, Dan. And friends doing that. Now I said to myself, you know what, guys, I'm not an entertainer. I've never been an entertainer. I've been a teacher. I've been a teacher for a long time. So I was used to talking to crowds. Long story short, they talked me into it, and we created what was called Rocknosis, the world's loudest stage hypnosis show. It was a production. We had, obviously it started out small. By the time we were really going, well over $20,000 in lighting, sound equipment, props, all the atmospherics. We had, just all that stuff. Had about a 3 to 4 man crew at any time we were doing a show. So, and that led to what I'm going to be talking about, was getting booked, which was building a website that gets you booked. That's what I'm talking about at this year's Performing Hypnosis Summit. And I'm excited to be back. I've been there since the very first one, which was virtual. And I can't remember what I talked about that first year. I really don't. So, and then, of course, last year there in Las Vegas, it was the first in-person one. This is the second in-person one, or I should say hybrid as well, because they're doing that. So when Grant and Jim were asking for proposals, I thought, well, I really want to go again. What do I know that would be beneficial to the stage hypnosis world? And I thought, website design. So
I feel like, so a little bit of honesty here and validation at the same time. When I read the description of your show, I thought you were going to be discussing strategies for using lead websites to actually convert, and that was going to be an incredibly hot topic, because I traditionally see those lead websites to be some in substance a race to the bottom of who can get the cheapest price and whatever. And yeah. I know that there are some people who have mastered commanding an actual value price there, but again, here's where the validation comes in. I'm glad that we're doing this talk in this preview, because this is totally different and substantially more important, because it gives you the absolute control. You're not paying for a lead. You're not fighting against 80 other people who might be getting that lead at the same time. And to really lean into the importance of this talk, I was contacted the other week by, so I'm starting to do cruise ships, not in the traditional way where, you know, the cruise line books you through an agent and everybody's getting a piece of the action and you're getting a little more than your free cruise. But I have linked up with travel agents who regularly do group cruises so that my show can be added into their itinerary. And we were having a little back and forth on one with Carnival, because at first Carnival was presenting as if they had this policy where they didn't have hypnotists anymore. Then these folks, the travel planners, went on to a cruise where there was a hypnotist, and it was on Carnival. And tell me who it is. I want to know who it is. And I went to this person's website, and I will not name names, but I felt like I entered, you know, I found the DeLorean, I got in, the flux capacitor was in place, I got it up to 88 miles an hour, and back we were in 1996 in some GeoCities neighborhood with this person's website. Like, it literally looked like it came from the mid to late 90s, in the dawning of the era in which individuals could actually put things on the web. And there are more of those websites out there than not. So I'm excited to learn about.
Yeah, we're gonna. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We're gonna talk a little bit, because everyone starts off. Everyone starts off on Gig Salad or Gig Masters, which is now the Bash. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about social media, because social media is always big. And one of the things a lot of people think is like, oh, I got to be present on social media, so I got to drive everyone to my social media. Well, no, it still works the way social media is supposed to work, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, whatever it is you're on. Social media should be driving people to your website. That's where you get booked. That's where you get paid. That's where people see you. And there are 4 things I will mention about a website as you decide. Because what are we really talking about here is gig work. Whether you're a stage hypnotist, whether you're a magician or a band or whatever you have going on, gig work, you want a booking. So that's what those are designed to do. So you want to have a clear intent on your website. It's got to be engaging. It has to have easy site navigation. It has to have all those components. And those are some of the things we're going to talk about. Websites are hugely important, because when you get to your website, or an individual of any person gets to your website, they got about 7 or 8 seconds they're going to be looking at it, and they need to be engaged right away. So it's got to be, I hate to say it, aesthetically pleasing. So, and
it sure can't look like it was designed in 1996.
No. And the other thing I see on a lot of, and I've looked, and I don't want to say this about any one person or any individual, because it's not any one person or any individual. I have seen so many atrocious websites where they're trying to get out of it as cheaply as possible. And I get it. You want to keep your overhead down as a business. But if it's not helping you, it's not helping you. I've seen websites, you click on the website, and it's literally a picture, like something you would see on a bus. You know, it's like, it's their name, it's their picture, there's a number. Hey, book me, I'm great. That's their entire website. You can't click on anything. Or the website is all one page, and they try to put everything on that page, so it becomes so visually busy, you don't even want to take time to look at it. It's like a resume. Guy picks up your resume and it's visually busy and it doesn't get to the point, they're next. They're moving on to the next one. And I've seen a lot of websites like that.
And I think that some of this comes from, and please cut me off if I get too deep into what you plan on talking about, because part of the goal here is to get people to come to PHS, build this thing, grow this thing. It's got some great momentum, and this is going to be year in and year out one of the go-to conventions for entertainment hypnotists. It's very clear from the way that it's been put together so far and everything that's been put out there. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. It's only going to become the pinnacle for entertainers. But a lot of people, because of the social media, I get the feeling that they're moving away from the traditional website, or at least putting the effort and the investment into the traditional website and trying to bolster up these other social media avenues, which are not, I'm not going to discourage that part of it, but
No.
your website is the one place in this digital world where when you get somebody there, you don't have to worry about in the border, up at the top, down at the bottom, or in a pop-up, an ad for a direct competitor to be in that person's face. If you're on one of those gig sites, you can be looking at my profile and see 3 or 4 ads for different entertainers off to the right. So when, like you said, it has to be engaging, if that engagement on my gig site page starts to dwindle, where do they click next? Somebody else. On Facebook, I can if I wanted to come after you, which I wouldn't, and I know that you're doing more clinical and everything these days anyway. Oh, this is a really great point coming in from Jim Kellner, who is actually one of the inventors, the co-creators of the Performing Hypnosis Summit. A number of so-called business coaches out there advising people not to have a website and just use social media. They're out there. They're telling people to do it, but it's the one space that you have complete control and dominion of all 4 corners of the space. If I wanted to come after you or Jim Kellner, I'll use it since he popped the comment here, and specifically say, I will pay a premium to make sure that every time somebody views Jim Kellner's profile page on whatever, Gig Salad you mentioned, I can be in the right-hand column or wherever they put those ads every single time. I can always be an alternative, but not on Jim's website. Jim controls Jim's website.
Here's the thing about social media. Followers are not bookers.
Right.
Followers are not books. They are not the people. They are not venue owners. They're not cruise lines. They're not anything. They're not anybody that's going to give you a stage. It's nice to have a good following on your social media, because I can use that. And I did use that, as many of us, when I had a show coming up, I had a bar ask me, it's like, well, how many followers do you have on your social media? I had like 2,000 or 3,000 followers. So I'm just like, yeah, that's a great thing. Here's the other problem with that. Not everybody on your social media is driving to your show. It depends on where your show is. Okay. Yeah. It's nice to have followers. Your website is where you get paid. You've got to have that hooked to your account. I have mine hooked to Square. So when somebody books on there, they pay it. It goes right in there. I've got it. It's in my bank account. I'm paid before I put foot to stage, and however you're going to do it. And that can include, like, hey, hotel, airfare. So all this stuff. It's where you can keep your, if they need to download a contract, they can get that right there. So your website is hugely important. Social media drives people to your website. Then from there, you're converting that to a gig. That's the end goal.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, followers are not bookers. And in my experience, the most that I have gotten out of a follower is an interaction that goes like this. Hey, I really love your stuff. When are you going to do a show that's closer to insert city here, which is where they are?
Yeah.
And then, so now I've got a target and a place where I might try to go book, but I'm doing that cold. I'm doing that fresh and clean. I've had somebody make those requests, and then I dig around in the market. I'll even go back to that person who said, hey, when are you coming here? And be like, where are some great venues that book types of, that book musicians and book other acts that have a space that is similarly configured to this? And really, when in those scenarios, for me, not that we're going to get off on a tangent and do a totally different lecture here in this podcast, but hey, whatever. All we're here to do is help elevate everybody and provide information. So how they get Absolutely. It is irrelevant to me. But I look in those types of scenarios, where is there a restaurant, a bar, a brewery, an establishment like that has a separate private dining area? And if so, as long as they can fit 60 to 100 people in there, I am confident that even if I have to bring all my own gear and sound equipment and all that stuff, that we can configure that room to do a show. Let's talk.
Absolutely. And that's what I traveled with. I traveled with, all my sound equipment, all my lighting, all my special effects, all my props, sound engineer. We had a guy that did the lighting. It was a good sized show. So we needed some good sized venues. Now, the other great thing about a website is that is where you can build your contacts, your email list. Hey, sign up, check that out. Venue guys that come in there, maybe they're going to sign up, maybe they're going to send you an email. That's where you're building those contacts and connections that get you booked over the years. One good website that gets you 5 jobs, right, that start. Guess what? Oh, yeah, this is the 5th year in a row I'm doing, ha-has on the Sunset Strip. I don't know if there is such a place as ha-has. I just made it up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So those are the great things. And the easy navigation. You want your website to be easily navigating. You don't want it to be too confused or too busy. Definitely don't want it to be one page. So, and that's what I see a lot of. I see a lot of stage hypnotists out there with one-page websites. A lot of gig workers actually with one-page websites. So, and you don't have to be a coder anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that there is a trend where people are going to a one-page website, but the nav bar at the top will push you down that page to the different relevant areas and will stay at the top, and it presents like a multi-page website.
I have that on the homepage, or I don't have it right now, but I will. So let's say talk about the conference right now. I could put an anchor right there. So at the top, if someone clicks, venue, they want to know about the venue, it scrolls right down to it. And there are some things that you're going to need a page for. You're going to need a separate page for. And that's like, hey, book me now, because they need to fill out stuff to book you. So
correct,
that's a separate page you need. So that clear navigation becomes very important.
Awesome. So this should be valuable. And again, I always love it when there is a presentation that's coming up, and we've had a couple of these that we've talked about on previous podcast episodes. There are so many reasons, even as a non-hypnotist entertainer, to come to PHS.
Oh yeah,
because we don't talk, and this is the one thing that I love to get out there, because last year when I went to PHS, it was the first time I went to any hypnosis conference of any kind. So it was a little eye-opening for me. There will be some people teaching some inductions and other techniques and methods, but you don't go to these conferences to learn to hypnotize people. You learn to come to these conferences to learn how to elevate the game, increase bookings, increase ticket sales. You can learn about sound setup. You did a presentation on the production element last year. And Alan Sands last year went through a ton. I mean, everything. If you didn't know what all of the cables were in the box to set up your sound and set up your lights, you did after you walked out of his talk. So
absolutely, yeah. And we're doing I'm doing a post conference on the power of a production company. Mike Bentley and I, he was my sound engineer at the time. We started Firemind Productions, which was a business that just made business. Created that is just great. So having different pages for different keywords can focus your search engine optimization. Exactly. Yeah, Grant, I was just reading here. Sorry.
Grant Saunders, the other half of the dynamic duo that brought us the PHS, talking about different pages to focus on different types of CEO. Obviously, this is stuff that you're going to go into there. So I'm highly looking forward to your talk, learning more about this. I know that others certainly will be valuing this. So if you have not registered already, Performing Hypnosis Summit. I think it's performinghypnosissummit.com. Look, if you Google it, it's going to show up. Why? Because they have their own webpage. and you should too, come to PHS, learn about why, learn about things that you need to have on there, because it's going to take you forever. It's going to take you everywhere that you want to go, because you can do exactly that. You can hyper focus it to say, hey, I'm going to book everywhere, or you can shrink it down to say, I'm going to take over Michigan or wherever you are and do it that. So any last thoughts, Dan, before we let people go about their days?
Just that this is going to be a great presentation. I'm, putting a lot of effort into it. Also, the biggest thing is Vegas in January is cool. You're not going to melt to death.
Right.
I went there last year. It was like 60, 70 degrees. It's like a fall in Michigan. So it's a great time to be in Las Vegas at a great conference.
I will say, for anybody who is trying to make, you go to Vegas, you want to make the most of it. If you take a look at the PHS schedule, making the most of Vegas exists within the four corners of the schedule. There are all of the PHS activities, as well as pre-planned, discounted, if not free excursions, as I'll call them, to things that you as an entertainer will want to do, all within the reach of PHS. So if you are trying to add on and do other stuff in Vegas while you're there for PHS, tack on extra days, because that PHS calendar is chock full of everything you could possibly need. I mean, you're on your own for food, but other than that, as far as entertainment, as far as learning, as far as networking and everything like that, it's all there in those days. So thanks so much, Dan. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and looking forward to seeing you in Vegas in January. And everybody else out there, come on down to PHS. It's a ton of fun. It's getting bigger every year. It's getting better every year. And, you need to be part of it. That way you can be part of what makes it great. So to everybody out there, see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.